Okay, this is day 2 of the Awan trial and more with the Grafenstine interrogatories. I'll just say one thing before Grafenstine is appointed here by Nancy Pelosi on June 30th, 2010. An interesting event happens about 2 months earlier, and that is this person that I was talking about yesterday, this Rosatom guy, this executive that works with the Russian company that made this deal for 20% of the U.S. uranium. A guy named Mikarin, he gets a visa, meaning this program is getting formalized. Mikarin is bribing, and it starts in 2009. He starts bribing this trucking company called Transportation Logistics. I won't go into the details right now, but it's going to be important to remember that the uranium traffic on the ships and in the American ports especially is why you need the Congress. You need congressmen to buy off on the control of the ports by the UAE in order to affect this rat line. Because in the rat line, you're not going to just ship the uranium. The uranium is going to be a cover. What you're going to be shipping then is also dark weapons and drugs. The dark weapons are depleted uranium weapons. A lot of the uranium that's supposed to be going to waste facilities is actually going into the construction of weapons in Pakistan. This is the key rat line. The story still has not come out yet, but this is the key story here, that a lot of the waste uranium is actually going to depleted uranium weapons manufacturer. And in order to put that together, you need U.S. ports. Now, I'm not saying this leads directly to Grafenstein's hiring, but I'm just putting it out there, putting this in perspective, because once you have these ships coming and going, and you have a national security reason for them coming and going, just like Iran-Contra, now I can put the drugs in, now I can put the weapons in. Yeah, it's exactly the same as Iran-Contra, only this is Iran-Contra. Okay, so how does it all come together? Once this deal gets put together in July of 2011, Natalia Sova is hired by Congressman Deutsch down here in Florida. She only works there 7 months. I believe that's in order to work with the people in Ukraine. She speaks Ukrainian and Russian, but she's working the Russia end of this, if you will. And I also believe there's going to be a Ukrainian facility that's going to end up doing a lot of reprocessing of uranium as well on the Russian border. So she's only hired for 7 months to really kind of nail down the Russia side of this. I also believe that there's going to be pharmaceuticals made in Russia that are going to be used later on. Obviously, that's the lucrative business that Imran Awan and his father want to be a part of. I think what happens is the Russians have that business until 2000. Right around 2011, when it switches over here from Natalia Sova, and they pick up that business. We'll see what the facts are. The October 2011 to 1 year later, Rayo Abbas is hired. Again, anytime you have a rat line, you must infiltrate the intercept capability. You must infiltrate DHS. You must infiltrate. To have an early warning system, you need to infiltrate the Coast Guard. You need to infiltrate the Navy for the long haul. You need to infiltrate Customs and Border Protection for when it gets cleared in Customs. This is going to be exactly why in Charleston we go through those 3 layers, and when I get those 5 phone calls, those are going to be exactly the same folks that need to be infiltrated with programming teams. Rayo Abbas, I think, is working at a little bit higher level. He may be running phones around. We still don't know anything about Rayo Abbas, but would not Grafenstine know Rayo Abbas? That's the first question is, after I ask her, do you know Imran Awan? Do you know RAO Speedwagon Abbas? Do you know him? I believe Hasib Rana, the way they've characterized him as the worker bee that had to do all the work, I think that's correct. Maybe he ends up being the runner. Maybe Jamal ends up being the runner. But I do now believe that Rayo Abbas is spending a lot of time every year in Pakistan. His social profile shows that. He might be spending almost 9 months a year in Pakistan working with the programming teams, infiltrating DHS. So, I won't go into the different companies that are created for Natalia Sova, but one of them is Easy Car Buying, okay, in Annandale. I believe she lives at the Annandale address, and that's kind of her center of operations. She's going to have programmers there, but those programmers are going to be more Ukrainian and Russian programmers. So, to handle that end of the programming. So, I'll fast forward here, but again, does Grafenstein know Hasib Rana? Was Grafenstein aware of this order for the CDW order? Did she look at any of the other orders that were made? Does she know what happened to these phones as these orders are being made, as Hasib Rana is taking these orders? I don't believe the first order was in 2016. They're going to obviously be going all the way back to when Rayo Abbas is there in 2012, if not before. So we'll have to see what she knew when she knew it. Okay. One of the things I wanted to introduce was the House Committee on Administration. Again, here, just like we did with the House Armed Services Committee, drilling one level down now on some of the people that are a part of this committee. And the important part here is I'll publish this timeline. The important part here is I believe the congressman's name is Greg from Mississippi. And then this is going to be a committee of about 11. Zoe Lufgren here, this guy from Pennsylvania 1 here. And now we can start commenting, hey, when you guys found out about the 150 CDW orders going to the House, the Hawkshead House by Imran Awan, when did you meet? What day did you meet? When did you make the recommendation to call Grafenstein over here at the House Inspector General? When did you do that? They should at least be able to tell us that, and what day the meeting was. If you're going to tell the Washington Post, which is basically a cover-up organization, and Sean Boberg's a little more than a spy for Morando and Wasserman over at the Attorney General's office, you have to at least tell us what day you had the meeting and what your recommendation was. When did you recommend the House Inspector General come in and look at this? Okay. We also talked about the lawsuit that I intend on filing, how it's different from the Jared Beck lawsuit, how it's more of a RICO lawsuit, how it's more of a Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, how it's more of an espionage act, it's not just fraud, and how this investigation didn't know anything, this lawsuit didn't know anything at all about the Awans. They didn't know anything at all about the credit union fraud, the CDW fraud, the John Wilkes phone booth, the logins from the Inspector General report. None of this stuff was available to Jared Beck when he amended it. He didn't know anything about the Act Blues phishing attacks at DNC. He didn't link the DNC to the Awans. So a lot of stuff wasn't in this lawsuit that will be in mine. Okay? Again, let's see pictures of Abid Awan to follow up on this. And again, Ms. Grafenstein, have you ever met Abid Awan? You've talked about hacking, you've talked about doing assessments, you've talked about disaster recovery plans, you've talked about mirrored servers. Do you realize mirrored servers are the perfect way for an organization to get everything constantly being updated? Is there a mirrored server process logging in every hour to mirror the two BlackBerry servers? Is that what's happening in the Congress? Let's be honest. Let's come out and talk about it. The other interesting thing is right as the investigation is being handed over by Grafenstein to FBI in October, Grafenstein writes this article about cyber hacking, and here's the first 100 things that the president needs to do about cyber hacking. She thinks Hillary's going to win at this point, but she makes no mention whatsoever. She does put shipping containers in this article, interestingly enough, on the Hill. She does, and then she also has a programming team and talks about programming teams overseas. So it's a very interesting choice of pictures. But when did you write this cyber hacking article for the Hill, Ms. Grafenstein? Did you write it after or before you dropped the case and gave the case over to the FBI? Why wouldn't you write about this case, a case that you had just got done researching for 7 months? So that's going to be a key question. Is let's look at all the writing that Grafenstein has done over the period of time the Awans have been there and see why isn't she writing about the Awans and the Awan hacking if she's so close to it. She had just finished handing over the investigation. She had just finished handing over the investigation to the FBI. Why wouldn't you write about that on October the 15th, before the election?